Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a Wednesday morning of the month. That's right, it is hump day. Middle of the week, raining, cool, very awesome weather for us here. We needed it. We were extremely dry. And it's a gradual rain, on and off, and it's been good. Had over an inch in Richland Center yesterday and last night, but want to share something that I did yesterday. I've been struggling, as you all know. I'm very honest here. I've been struggling mentally, physically, just all in all general. So I went and talked to the one person that I know who would listen, because she has no choice. That would be my mother. I went up to the cemetery and parked by her headstone, and people talk about coincidences or whatever it may be. Oh, that just happens. But as I was there yesterday in the rain, sitting at the cemetery, just sitting there trying to see some answers, out comes a little fawn and the mother right behind. I thought, what's the odds I'm in the middle of Richland Center, and not the odds per se, because there's deer all over up by the cemetery. There's deer everywhere. But what's the odds that I was really struggling at that time, and I'm parked right next to Mom's headstone, and I'm just trying to study and learn and try to figure out at 52 years of age who the hell I really am and what is my purpose. And out walks this fawn, and out walks Mama Doe behind it into the cemetery. And maybe they're eating all the petunias or whatever everybody else has planted or put out for, decorations. But I thought, that just proves I'm in the right place trying to see where my answers lie. So, good mom above was sending me a sign that anytime I needed to come and get an answer. And for those of you that live around where your parents are buried and can easily access that, I highly recommend it. If your relationships were strong. My mom and I were inevitably strong. It was a great relationship we had. And yes, frustrating, and I know I frustrated her, and yep, we were talking about it this morning at coffee, that we were talking about how mothers reacted. And we all came to the same conclusion that when our first names, middle name, and last name came out, it was never good. And that's why I think my mom gave me two middle names, so then I really paid attention, so I didn't miss it with the first one. But I just thought it was interesting as I was sitting at the cemetery when that little fawn come out, was still with spots, and Mom's raising it up. And I just thought it was pretty cool and a sign that Mom's paying attention. Mom understands what I'm going on. But I have been back to doing my studying as far as my personal journey. Back to listening to the Mindset Mentor, back to doing things that I was doing to begin with 2 years ago, and kind of just got away from it all. I let the world go by and did what I did. I've made some shitty choices. I've done that, and we've all done it, I think. But yeah, I get it, and the things that I live with. But I think one thing as a parent, we always struggle with the relationships with our kids. And some people are blessed. Maybe they don't have that problem. I come from a unique situation. I have 4 stepkids. Actually, 2. I adopted one. So I have one that I adopted. One that I raised, and then Isaac's biologically mine. I have loved every one of them as much as I can. But I am learning more and more that you can't chase after that you can't, it just is what it is. Life's going to go on. Life has to be there no matter how much energy you put towards things. You just have to let it go. And you have to let them go do their thing. And don't be guilt tripped or anything else like that. To just let it go. And that's a hard part. And then also, to not try to interfere in any way. Let them do what they're going to do. Let them go on and do what they're doing. And that's a hard part. And then you get into where your marriages are and everything else and how those things, we have so many things that are attacking us as a human being that, do we measure up here? Do we measure up here? Are we measured up at work? Are we measuring up in our relationships with this or with our friends? Or you have so many things that are going through that are always challenging. And at times we wonder why we are exhausted. Because I think we hold on to a lot of things that we think we control. We can control and we can't. There are so many things in this universe we cannot control. We can control our attitude towards it, the energy we put into it, those kind of things. How much energy we spend at work to try to make everything right. Which you need to do. You need to make sure you're performing to what is expected of you. And going, if you can, to go above and beyond. And then we get frustrated when those things aren't noticed. You know, it always amazes me how much effort some of us put into everything. And I think we expect that same effort to come back on us and we get let down. Don't get let down. Just know that you are doing your best. Take that award, take that win, and go, hey, I'm doing everything I can. And if that's the best answer you got is I am doing everything I can, great. If you do notice things that need to change, change them. But don't expect when you make those changes for people to all of a sudden start patting you on the back, to start noticing what you're doing, to go, oh, great job, glad you're doing all that. Because right now I don't, and it was this way before. I got thinking about this on my way to work today too, was as white males, we have been put into a spot, and some of you are not going to like what I have to say, and that's okay. But we have always been put in a spot way back that if you watch old videos, you watch anything as Caucasian, we have always put the minorities down, whether it was women, whether it was the Native Americans, whether it was any of the immigrants, and we still have it all going on today. I have been told that, Chris, you have no idea about people being racist. I said, you're right. I don't. I know about people that are holding people down and be judging people on economic basis. So if you're poor and you live in shitty neighborhoods and you live in subsidized housing, or I grew up in some of that, so I get that. You're right. I don't know what it's like to walk as a Native American or an African American here, or now an immigrant to a certain extent. I'm an immigrant because my family came from Switzerland. That's why we're here. My great-grandparents came here across on a boat from Switzerland. And then my dad and my mom's family came from Ireland. And Norwegian. So I know that portion, but I am skin tone the same as, I guess, the superior race of what we are told is a superior race. And now you are seeing it more and more of how we try to use fear tactics. We don't like any other races except for our race. It's proven day in and day out in the government because we have people that show less and less care and compassion. I understand the frustrations in Madison. I get it, and I understand the mix. I was a criminal justice major before. I've looked at that video and I say, I debate on whether but he had a knife. Does it matter if they had one hand arm filled up? No. Would it have made a difference had when he came at the person with a knife before and shot? No, probably not. I see where we're using the excuse that, oh, like, for example, Minneapolis, oh, she was driving a car, so now it's justified. And it's justified via the groups that do not seem to like. It always amazes me why people feel that they have to be the superior ones. I find it very hard to deal with. I'm not talking just Republican and Democrat. I am talking the extreme side, so the MAGA side. If you haven't noticed, they really do not like other people. Seems kind of odd if they don't. Kind of like the same as the severe left. They don't like people that want to think differently. I personally think that healthcare and everything else shouldn't be something that we have to scratch at, and should barely have. We choose between medications and living. We choose between raising our family. Well, you just got to cut your expenses. You got to do this. See, we don't like to help people out. There's a bunch that do, and they're in a whole different grade. But I have been studying to make myself better, and I think some people need to do that. If you're not doing it, I would highly recommend it. The Mindset Mentor, Rob Dial, great information. Really does a good job, and I like listening to his stuff. He does a lot of short clips, plus he does some long stuff. But what are we trying to measure up to? So when it comes to our kids, I always wanted to give my kids things that I never had. I always wanted to provide with things that I never had. And where did it get us? Where does it get as they get a little older, or they do it? Where does it get you as a parent? Doesn't stop the heartaches. It doesn't stop what people think or what they think about you or what you did. I'm not saying there's mistakes we make as parents. The choices we make as we get older sometimes impairs those relationships. And that happens. But make time for yourself to improve yourself without worrying about what is at the end. Take time for you. Take time to make yourself better. And not care so much about what others think. But also take time to think about what others are going through. I can't imagine what it was like as a Native American. I can't imagine what it was like as an African American. And I'm not talking about yesterday. I'm talking about years and years and years as they were being forced to, well, Chris, they were the lesser. Yeah. Guess what I've learned? At some point in life, you run across somebody that's much tougher than you, bigger badass than you, and you're going to get knocked on your ass once in a while. I've learned that. I've seen it happen. I've watched young, cocky people, and they thought they were the baddest of bad, get their ass kicked. I was a bouncer at a bar. I've watched it many times. I think that's coming for the United States because we feel we are invincible. We are untouchable. 9/11 proved that we were not an invincible force. We are starting to see more and more of that because we're not taking time to realize who helped build this country, who helped make this country what it is today. Well, Chris, they're here raping and pillaging and eating cats and dogs, whatever it may be. It's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. Yes, some of them haven't come here legally. Get it. But without them, our economy is going to even suffer more. And I'm not saying that they should have free reign here, but they also shouldn't have to be worried about dying in the holding cell or being mistreated or treated like slaughter pigs. That's just my feeling, I guess. I don't feel we should be treating people in general as low scumbags, lifes, whatever, and coming up with our tail. Because we have plenty of politicians and everything else that are doing much worse things than what some of these illegal immigrants. And they're very few. If you look at the grand scheme. I'm not saying you won't find 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 cases of whatever it may be. But I guarantee if you look at the stories overall of what supposedly illegal immigrants are doing for this country, I think you'll find more positive stories than negative stories. Because if you look at all of the races, there are shitty apples in every bushel. So that's where I'm at today. I'm just going to start. I got to learn more about who I am and what I'm about. Yeah. And that's where I'm at. So I'm looking forward to September 2nd. Make sure that you mark that on your calendar. That is the end of summer Alzheimer's party at the Phoenix Center, 5 to 8:30. It is basically just an event. We're getting together to somewhat be there so people can learn more about Alzheimer's, more about what the Alzheimer's Association is doing. This is above and beyond my fundraiser in November. This isn't a fundraiser for me. This is an end of summer party. We're doing a pizza buffet. Donnie Reisig is going to be playing 5 to 8:30. We're going to say thank you to some of the donors. We're going to say thank you to everybody that's been involved in making my events great. So September 2nd at the bowling alley in Richland Center, it is more just going to be to get people together to say thank you. We will do a 50-50 raffle. That money is going to go to the Alzheimer's, into my mom's account for Alzheimer's Association. But overall fundraiser, no. Some people are getting it mixed up with my November event. Nope, this is above and beyond. My normal event in November will be my big fundraiser, which I have plenty of things going on there. But I did get confirmation with Donnie Reisig that he will be playing. I've got some good things there. There are some people that I want to say thank you to that night that have been with me from the start and have helped immensely. But that's where I was this morning. I've just been a lot of time thinking. Mentally, I'm exhausted. Mentally, I am struggling of who I am as a person and where I am headed. So, no, I'm not looking at the end of whatever it may. No, that's not it. I'm trying to make myself better, trying to get myself in the right direction. So that's where I'm at. So I hope you all have a great day. The moisture is nice to see today, and we will talk tomorrow morning. And as always, take time to bless somebody today.